Commander Zathar reclined in his command chair, his gaze fixed on the luminous display before him. All four of his yellow eyes flicked across the data, scanning the same lines again and again. The numbers didn't add up. Something in this report defied everything he understood. The autonomous probe had returned from the far edge of the galaxy, having visited a minor system orbiting a G-type star the locals referred to as Sol. The probe performed a full system scan, detailing the various planets that orbited the star. Most were typical gas giants with swirling storms and countless moons, rocky orbs devoid of life, frozen spheres tumbling through darkness, but the third planet was a complete outlier. The probe had flagged it with two simultaneous classifications, an unprecedented occurrence. Never before, in the entire annals of galactic record-keeping, had such a thing happened. Estar clicked his mandibles together in unease. As the director of the Galactic Cartographic Institute, he had the responsibility of cataloging every planetary body in known space. In his 40 standard years of service, he had never encountered a planet marked with dual classifications. Every world was assigned a single identities, or hazardous, inhabited or barren, organic or artificial. Never both. And yet, this world called Earth had somehow received both a Class 115 Death World designation and a dangerous ship warning. Those two labels were meant to be mutually exclusive. A death world referred to a naturally formed planet so extreme in its environment that intelligent life couldn't survive. A dangerous ship, on the other hand, was a man-made construct designed with propulsion, shields, and weapon systems created by advanced civilizations for war. How could Earth be both? Extar leaned forward, scanning the data again. According to the probe's findings, Earth's surface was racked with violent storms capable of obliterating entire cities. Its gravity was crushing, fatal to most galactic species. Its atmosphere contained reactive gases that would kill outsiders. Within minutes, solar radiation bombarded it continuously. Hurricanes, lightning, superstorms, tsunamis, tornadoes. It was a maelstrom of hostile conditions. Temperatures fluctuated wildly enough to freeze or boil life on a planetary scale. And yet, the probe also returned disturbing technological readings. The planet seemed to house colossal propulsion systems embedded within its crust, not for stabilization but for movement. Entire planetary thrust capabilities beyond any known design. It also detected orbital and surface-based energy signatures consistent with advanced weaponry, defensive arrays strong enough to destroy entire fleets. And then, the most alarming revelation of all, within the planet itself, massive energy readings suggested the presence of a weapon integrated into the world's structural foundation. A weapon of catastrophic scale. Extar rubbed his brow with one of his 6 hands. Troubled, the implications were staggering. Had someone somehow turned a Deathworld into the most dangerous superweapon in recorded galactic history? Who would do such a thing? What kind of beings possessed the technology and the audacity to transform a living planet into a war machine? And why choose such a violently uninhabitable world? The confusion deepened. The probe didn't just detect weapon systems, it also picked up strong energy signatures pointing to a vast population on the planet's surface. Not scattered survivors hiding under domes, but entire civilizations. Billions of intelligent life forms thriving amid the chaos. Either these beings had engineered perfect environmental shields, or they were the most biologically resilient creatures ever encountered. Estar brought up the classification manual on his secondary display. Class 115 was the highest death world rating in existence, reserved for only 12 known worlds across the galaxy. These were planets bathed in lava or locked in eternal frost under poisonous skies. Some had daylight temperatures that could melt steel and nights colder than deep space. None were home to any known life. As for the dangerous ship classification, it was normally applied to dreadnoughts, mobile battle stations, or weaponized asteroids. On rare occasions, even moons had received the designation, but an entire planet, never. And the Galactic Cartographic Institute's computers weren't prone to errors. Their systems ran AAA verification on every report. Redundancies upon redundancies made data corruption nearly impossible. The odds of a false classification were 1 in a trillion, but the chance of conflicting classifications supposed to be 0. Still, Estar reran the data 3 times. The result never changed. Earth was unmistakably a Class 115 death world, and undeniably a dangerous warship. The environmental metrics were crystal clear, and the propulsion and weapon signatures were far too strong, too distinct to ignore. Extar leaned back, exhaling slowly. He had 3 options. He could mark the reading as erroneous and request another probe mission, but that would take months to launch, and perhaps years to complete. He could discard one of the classifications and settle on a single entry, but that would violate Institute protocols. Or, he could forward the unaltered report and let someone higher up decide what to make of it. He had not risen to command by dodging difficult calls. He began drafting a report to the Galactic Council. They met once every standard month to review discoveries and set policy. 47 species had representation on the council. They would need to be alerted immediately. The report took him 3 hours. X-Star included the raw sensor data from the probe, supporting documents, atmospheric breakdowns, gravity fields, radiation exposure logs, all of it justifying the Deathworld tag. He then attached propulsion analysis, thermal emissions, energy, weapon scans, and orbital defense arrays to support the warship designation. When it was done, he read it again. It sounded like madness, a world that was both alive and lethal, both forged and natural, a planet that breathed as a living death trap, yet roared with the power of a star-faring warship. But the evidence was irrefutable. The probe's readings came from the most sophisticated sensor suite in known space. He encrypted the report, added his personal verification codes, and sent it directly to the Galactic Council's secure archive. The message would arrive in 6 hours. By the next galactic rotation, every major power would know the truth about the impossible planet orbiting Sol. Star sat silently for a moment, then rose and walked to the massive viewing panel in his office. Through the transparent alloy, he could see the flow of traffic outside, dozens of ships coming and going from the Cartographic Institute, research vessels unloading data, passenger ships ferrying cartographers to new worlds, and military escorts guarding high-value intelligence. Routine operations, all humming along like the galaxy hadn't just been turned upside down. X-Star had catalogued bizarre things in his career: planets made of singing crystal, gas giants home to ancient floating ruins, asteroid belts that danced in symmetrical patterns with no clear explanation. But this defied the known laws of stellar formation. Earth wasn't just unusual, it was a paradox. It shouldn't exist. Either the probe had malfunctioned in a way that fooled every safeguard, or the solar system contained something beyond comprehension. He returned to his desk, now determined to verify everything from the ground up. He opened the probe's navigation logs. Everything had followed protocol. The ship had jumped to the target system, performed long-range scans, mapped every orbit, and returned. There were no anomalies in the flight log, no sign of tampering. It had spent 3 standard days inside the system, mostly focused on the outer gas giants and their moons. Earth had only been scanned for 6 hours, but that was enough. The data showed the planet had a diameter of roughly 12,000 kilometers. It had a single large natural satellite, called Moon by its natives. The planet rotated once every 24 local hours, and completed an orbit of its star every 365 days, all typical for a terrestrial body in the habitable zone. Then things became strange. Earth's surface was 70% covered in liquid water. Not uncommon in itself, but the volume was massive. Most habitable planets had modest lakes or enclosed seas. This one had deep planet-wide oceans. Only 30% of the surface was solid land, divided among 7 major landmasses and thousands of islands. The atmosphere was more troubling. The chemical composition: 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, with trace gases. That much oxygen was practically fuel for most starfaring species. It made the environment highly reactive. Fires, corrosion, and biological overactivity would be constant. Gravity stood at 9.8 meters per second squared, significantly above the galactic average. Many species would be crushed or incapacitated under such force. Long-term exposure would lead to muscle failure and bone degradation in non-native beings. Temperature records were extreme. Equatorial regions reached over 50 degrees Celsius, while polar zones plunged below -40 degrees Celsius. Seasonal swings of more than 60 degrees were normal in some areas. Violent weather patterns erupted with alarming frequency: supercells, cyclones, solar flares affecting surface electronics. Yet, in spite of all this, the civilization was not just present, it was flourishing. The architecture showed massive urban density. Energy grids spanned continents. Satellite arrays orbited the planet. There was electromagnetic chatter across thousands of frequencies. Humanity, if that was what they were called, appeared to be thriving on a world that by all rights should exterminate them. X-Ray sat still, absorbing the implications. Either this was the greatest era Throughout the year, the planet's temperature swung wildly. Most known life forms needed relatively stable conditions to thrive, but this world was anything but stable. Even more alarming were the atmospheric readings. The probe had logged enormous storm systems, with wind velocities exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. These tempests released electrical charges so powerful they could disrupt or destroy unshielded systems. Some storms were the size of moons, stretching across entire continents. The lightning bursts alone carried more energy than most advanced power grids across the galaxy. And yet, against every odd, the probe had found unmistakable signs of a technologically developed civilization. The energy output suggested a population in the billions. Radio and electromagnetic signals flowed continuously, indicating a sophisticated, planet-wide communications web. Infrared imaging confirmed massive urban sprawl, with megacities containing millions, all interconnected by vast transportation networks. It wasn't just survival. These beings were thriving. Somehow, the life forms on this death world had accomplished the impossible. Not only had they endured the brutal chaos of their home planet, they had turned it into a unified civilization. The use of electromagnetic signals showed they possessed deep knowledge of physics. Their infrastructure proved mastery of engineering in extreme weather conditions. And according to sensor data, they had developed planetary propulsion and weapon systems. On a scale beyond comprehension, the sheer energy required suggested they had the ability to shift their planet's orbit or even send it drifting through space, and if necessary, defend it from any known galactic threat. This was not just a civilization, it was a fortress. X-Star sat in stunned silence. Whatever species lived on this planet called Earth, they were not like anything recorded in galactic history. They had evolved on a world that should have annihilated. The Mon turned that world into the greatest strategic weapon ever created. The Galactic Council would need to act with extreme care. Fleet Admiral Vexana now stood before the largest gathering of species ever assembled in galactic governance. An emergency meeting of the Council had been summoned just hours after Commander Zetha's report. All 47 member species filled the chamber. Even the reclusive void dwellers had sent envoys, shadowy entities contained in energy fields. Admiral Vexana's 3 hearts beat in unison as she prepared to speak. In over 2 centuries of service she had faced many threats, but none like this. A hostile planet, fully armed, inhabited by an unknown species, capable of reshaping galactic security. Chancellor Morak banged the ceremonial chime, silencing the crowd with a low resonance that shook the room. As one of the ancient granite species, Morak was massive and immovable. His words carried the weight of millennia, and now his stone features were tight with tension. Fellow representatives, he began. His voice echoed and translated into hundreds of tongues. We are faced with a discovery that defies our laws of science, biology, and logic. A world in the Sol system challenges everything we understand. Admiral Vexana will present the military's findings. Vexana gestured toward the central display. A 3-dimensional model of the Sol system appeared, each orbiting body annotated. She zoomed in, highlighting the 3rd planet. This is Earth, she began. Long-range probes confirm it is both a Class 115 Deathworld and, inexplicably, the largest integrated weapons platform ever documented. The beings inhabiting it have accomplished what we believed impossible. Delegate Sixandra of the Ethereal Collective raised a delicate limb that shimmered like mist. Admiral, surely this must be an error. No species could develop advanced technology under such conditions, let alone survive them. Vexana tapped a control. The model focused on Earth's night side, revealing sprawling networks of artificial light. These are population centers, cities housing millions. The electromagnetic emissions are complex, overlapping across hundreds of frequencies. Their infrastructure exceeds the communication networks of most council species. A murmur of disbelief spread through the chamber. Chardell of the crystalline choir spoke in harmonic tones, vibrating the chamber like a tuning fork. If these beings not only survive but flourish in such a world, what are they truly capable of? What manner of intelligence emerges from such chaos? Vexana brought up the planet's atmospheric data. The air consists of 21% oxygen, she said. That is dangerously volatile. Most of our species cannot safely exist in an environment above 5%. Yet these beings do not require containment or filtration. They breathe it freely and build megastructures in it. The gravity display followed. The gravity is nearly double the galactic average. Most species would be incapacitated or worse after mere hours of exposure. These inhabitants appear unaffected, she continued, switching to storm tracking visuals. Towering cloud systems spanned hundreds of kilometers, visibly discharging energy into the upper atmosphere. Their planet's weather generates destructive forces rivaling military-grade weaponry. Regular storms reach wind speeds of over 200 kilometers per hour. Lightning strikes carry enough energy to run a city for days. These phenomena occur in inhabited zones. Delegate Harak of the Warbear clan stood abruptly, his armored frame towering over the crowd. You've detailed the environment, but what of their military capability? What weapons are we dealing with? Vexana nodded grimly. Our scans detected energy surges consistent with both propulsion and weapons-grade systems. These are not isolated facilities. This infrastructure spans continents. Based on the scale and power output, the systems could enable planetary movement or planetary-level defense. She highlighted the planet's magnetic field. Their magnetic barrier reaches far into space. Its density is strong enough to deflect projectiles and disrupt targeting systems. It may also scramble ship sensors or electronics. The display shifted again, this time focusing on the moon. Even their satellite appears strategically positioned. Its orbital path could allow kinetic bombardment using slingshot physics. If weaponized, it could strike any target in the inner system. Clicktail of the hive mind buzzed nervously. What is your strategic threat assessment? Vexana's expression hardened. Based on collected data, I classify Earth's inhabitants as a Class Alpha military threat. They have forged their planet into a weapon capable of endangering galactic civilizations. Their survival suggests an evolutionary path favoring strength, adaptation, and aggression on an extreme level. The council chamber erupted. Delegates turned to advisors. Some began arguing in hushed tones. Chancellor Morak called for order once more. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" he asked. Vexana's answer was immediate. "We must dispatch a fleet, a reconnaissance armada, the largest in our history. Our goal, learn more, without provocation. But we must be prepared. If they perceive us as a threat, their retaliation could be catastrophic." Delegate Whisper of the Cloud Dancers floated forward, their translucent form glowing softly. "We must also consider diplomacy. Not all advanced civilizations are hostile. These beings may welcome contact." "With respect," Delegate Vex replied, "a species forged in such conditions may see threat in everything. Their survival depends on constant adaptation and defense. Peaceful intentions may be misread." She gestured to the projection. "Their world tries to kill them daily. Storms, radiation, gravity, atmosphere, and yet they've prospered. Their mindset may be shaped by relentless struggle. They might see us as fragile." Ambassador Trillian of the Peaceful Federation offered another view. "Or perhaps they value unity. Enduring such adversity may have taught them cooperation, not violence. Maybe we're projecting our fear onto them." Perhaps Vexana conceded, "But until we know for sure, we must assume caution. If we misjudge, the cost could be galactic extinction." The council took the matter to vote. The motion passed with overwhelming support. Only the Peaceful Federation and 3 smaller nations opposed. Within days, the galaxy's largest joint military fleet began to assemble near the frontier. 12 civilizations contributed their most advanced vessels. The Granite provided armored dreadnoughts capable of withstanding direct asteroid impacts. The Ethereal Collective offered ships equipped with phase-shift tech vessels that could pass through solid matter. The Warbears sent cruisers armed with quantum torpedoes. Alongside the military presence came scientists and contact specialists. If these Earth-dwellers proved peaceful, diplomacy would follow. If not, a coalition of 12 galactic powers would be ready for war. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the outer edge of the Sol system. Over 300 ships spread into a cautious formation, their sensors sweeping every celestial body. Communication teams prepared greetings in over 200 languages. Admiral Vexana stood aboard her flagship, eyes locked on the swirling blue-white orb in the distance. Earth. From here, it looked tranquil, its clouds soft, oceans glinting under sunlight. But the Admiral knew better. That beauty hid something violent, unpredictable, and powerful. "Admiral," her sensor chief reported, "we're picking up enormous energy signatures from the surface, levels far beyond our estimates." "Have they detected us?" she asked. "Unknown. Their transmissions are too complex to decipher. Could be routine or alert signals. We can't be certain." "Maintain position," Vexana ordered. "Keep scans passive. No contact until we understand what we're dealing with." The fleet slipped into long-range observation. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the control room of the International Space Station, eyes locked on the main display, her mind grappling with disbelief. 3 days had passed since the alien fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Since then, every telescope on Earth and in orbit had been fixed on the strange armada that now loomed like a stormfront in deep space, silent, motionless, watching. Sarah was director of the newly founded Department of Xenobiology at the United Nations, a role created for this exact scenario. For 15 years she had studied the theoretical biology of extraterrestrial life. She had been trained in diplomacy, first contact psychology, then linguistics, but no amount of preparation could have anticipated this. The aliens were here, but they weren't making contact. They were simply waiting. Their ships defied categorization. Some resembled vast crystalline structures glowing with internal light. Others were enormous, bristling with weapon emplacements and thick armor. A few seemed almost alive, with organic hulls pulsing gently like the breath of some slumbering giant. All of them dwarfed anything humans had ever constructed. She turned to Lieutenant Rodriguez at the communications console. "Are we getting anything new from Earth Command?" "Yes, ma'am." "Another query. They want to know if we've made any progress establishing contact." Sarah rubbed at her temples, fatigued, pressing down like lead. "Tell them we're still trying. We've sent greetings in every known language. We've broadcast math sequences, prime numbers, classical music. Nothing's gotten a reply." In truth, she was terrified. The formation of ships above the system was no exploration fleet. This was a military presence, one that appeared ready to engage at a moment's notice. But unlike any invasion scenario they'd imagined, the aliens had made no move to attack. Captain Williams floated over, eyes narrowing as he stared at the alien formations on the tactical display. "Doctor, what do you think they're waiting for?" Sarah studied the fleet's formation, tight, disciplined, patient. "I think they're observing us just as we're studying them. They want to understand what kind of threat we represent before they act." Captain Williams gave a short, incredulous laugh. "Threat? Our space program barely extends past this station. They could wipe us out from orbit." "That's exactly what worries me," Sarah replied quietly. "If they intended to destroy us, they would have done it already. The fact that they haven't, that they're hesitating, suggests they believe we might be dangerous. But why? Williams asked. Just then Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up, eyes wide. Dr. Chen, I'm detecting a new signal type, not aimed at US. Looks like internal, comes between their ships. Can we decode it? No translation yet, but I can trace the patterns. The signal frequency and intensity are increasing. It looks like a debate, maybe even an argument. Sarah turned toward the screen, her pulse quickening. Patch me through to Earth Command. I need the Secretary General. Minutes later, the emergency session of the United Nations Security Council came online. World leaders appeared on the ISS monitors, their faces lined with exhaustion and unease. Dr. Chen, Secretary General Martinez began. What is your assessment? Sarah took a breath. Mr. Secretary General, I believe the alien fleet is afraid of us. Their silence, their positioning, it suggests caution. They're acting like they're approaching a potential threat. President Harrison of the United States frowned. That's hard to believe. Doctor, look at the size of their ships compared to our technology. Sarah pulled up a planetary overview. Respectfully, Mr. President, look at Earth from their point of view. Imagine you're an explorer arriving in this system. She highlighted the swirling weather patterns, temperature extremes, energy readings. You'd see a planet with massive electrical storms, some producing more power than nuclear weapons. You'd detect temperature ranges that can kill most species in minutes. You'd find an oxygen-rich atmosphere, volatile, reactive gravity, nearly twice the galactic norm. To us, it's natural. But to them, she paused, to them it might look like we live in a planetary-scale weapons testing range, and not only survive but thrive. Prime Minister Chen of China leaned in. Dr. Chen, what do you recommend? We need to initiate peaceful contact, Sarah said. But we must do it very, very carefully. If they already think we're dangerous, even a misinterpreted gesture could trigger disaster. President Volkov of Russia asked, what kind of gesture do you propose? Something simple, non-threatening. Maybe invite a few of their ships to Earth orbit. Let them see that we're just people. Families, communities, science, art. If we can show them who we are, they might stop seeing us as a threat. The leaders exchanged uncertain glances. President Harrison spoke cautiously. You want us to invite alien warships closer to the planet? They're already here, Sarah replied. If they wanted to attack, they could have done it days. They go. Their hesitation is our opportunity. Secretary General Martinez nodded slowly. Prepare a message. Make it peaceful, direct, but choose your words with great care. Sarah spent the next hour composing humanity's first interstellar greeting. Using mathematical constants and visual diagrams, she explained Earth's position, humanity's peaceful intent, and an invitation for dialogue. It was broadcast on all frequencies. A week passed. Slowly, painstakingly, a dialogue began to form through shared data, science, and neutral concepts. Then came the turning point. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a live video feed with global reach. Representatives from every government watched as she prepared to brief the world. Ladies and gentlemen, she began. Today we will attempt our first face-to-face meeting with an alien species. 3 of their ships will enter Earth orbit for a cultural exchange demonstration. But before we proceed, I must explain something important. These aliens misunderstand our planet and us on a fundamental level. President Harrison raised a hand. You mentioned misconceptions. What exactly do they believe? Sarah brought up a 3D hologram of Earth. They believe Earth is both a naturally occurring death world and a planetary-scale weapons platform. They think we've weaponized our environment. Secretary General Martinez blinked. Weaponized. How? Sarah began her breakdown. First, our rotation. They interpret Earth's axial spin and orbital motion as evidence of propulsion, an engine that moves our world through space. She brought up data overlays. They estimate the kinetic energy from our planet's motion could power their civilization for millennia. Prime Minister Chen asked, what about our magnetic field? They think it's an artificial defense shield. The strength of our magnetosphere is unlike anything they've seen. They believe it was built to repel energy weapons. President Volkov leaned forward. In our cities, Sarah showed satellite footage of Earth at night. To them, our illuminated cities resemble energy nodes, power concentrations for weapon systems. Skyscrapers look like artillery towers. Roads, highways, subways, they think those are military supply lines. She brought up weather data next. This is what frightens them most. Our storms, our lightning, our hurricanes. They view our weather as atmospheric weaponry. Our planet looks like it's armed. The chamber fell silent. Finally, Martinez asked, and us? What do they think of us? Sarah's tone grew solemn. They think we're super soldiers, genetically hardened by evolution. On this hostile world, our tolerance to oxygen, our ability to walk in high gravity, to endure extreme cold and heat. They believe we were engineered for combat. She added, most galactic species can't survive more than a few hours in our conditions. To them, we're monsters. NASA Director Dr. James Mitchell appeared via live feed. Dr. Chen, we've received updates from the alien ships preparing to dock. They've been scanning everything, especially the ISS. What are they seeing? Sarah asked. They believe the space station is a military command post, a forward operating base, our satellites, targeting systems, our GPS, weapons, guidance, even our scientific equipment. They think it's military tech. Prime Minister Johnson of the UK looked visibly shaken. What about our history? Our broadcasts? They've intercepted all television signals, Sarah said grimly. They think our movies are documentaries, war films, disaster flicks interpreted as real events, science fiction. They think it's combat training. The room erupted in alarm. Secretary General Martinez called for quiet. Dr. Mitchell added, the alien ships approaching are enormously sized. Their docking mechanisms are unlike anything we've seen on Earth. Sarah watched as external cameras captured the alien vessels maneuvering toward the ISS. One was crystalline, glowing softly. Another pulsed with life like it was breathing. The third resembled a sleek metal spear, bristling with antennae. She opened a channel. Captain Williams, remember, they believe you and your crew are elite soldiers on a fortified outpost. Every action will be viewed through that lens. Be calm, be welcoming. Understood, he replied, nervous, but steady. But how do you look harmless when everything about you says you're dangerous? Just be human, Sarah said quietly. Show them your humanity. That may be our only chance. As the alien docking tubes extended toward the ISS, humanity held its breath. Astronauts rehearsed greetings. Scientists prepared cultural data. The first extraterrestrial visitors in history were minutes away. And just as the world hoped for understanding, new fears emerged. Alien scans had discovered underground metro systems, hidden bunkers, vast infrastructure beneath cities. Two beings already convinced EA. Captain Williams floated in the airlock chamber of the International Space Station, heart hammering against his chest like a drum. The moment was here. The first alien delegation in human history was about to come aboard. Through the reinforced glass, he could see them waiting. Three beings unlike anything ever imagined. The first looked like a humanoid crystal structure, light shimmering inside its angular body like a living prism. It had multiple slender arms, each tipped with delicate, tool-like digits. The second being was encased in shifting metallic layers, fluid and reactive, like armor that breathed. The third was the strangest. Its form seemed made of swirling shadows, a silhouette barely tethered to reality. Dr. Sarah Chin's voice crackled through the comes from Earth. Captain Williams, remember, they think you're a warrior. Act calm, confident. They expect a commander, not a scientist. He swallowed hard. Doctor, I've never been in a fight. I became an astronaut to explore, not command armies. Just show intelligence and respect. And above all, demonstrate that humans value peace. The airlocks cycled with a soft hiss. The inner door slid open. The three alien delegates entered, their movements smooth and deliberate. The crystal entity spoke first. Its voice, like wind chimes, translated through the universal communicator. I am Ambassador Crystalline Heart of the Ethereal Collective. We are here to evaluate the strategic capacity and territorial intentions of this orbital weapons platform. Williams blinked. Weapons platform? No, Ambassador, this is the International Space Station. It's for research, not warfare. The metallic being stepped forward. I am Commander Flowing Steel of the Adaptive Alliance. Do not insult us with falsehoods. Our scans detect propulsion systems and defense arrays. This is clearly a fortified outpost. Williams gestured around the cramped lab. Commander, with respect, those are life support systems and solar panels. We use a station for scientific experiments, growing plants in microgravity, monitoring asteroids, studying Earth's atmosphere. The shadow being spoke next. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I am Warshido of the Void Hunter clans. Your deception is unnecessary. We have seen your species endure the deadliest environment we've encountered. You are not explorers. You are survivors of a world built for war. Williams nearly laughed from the absurdity of it all. I was a biology professor before I joined the space program. I studied ecosystems, evolution. I taught students how animals adapt to survive, not how to fight. Ambassador Crystalline Heart tilted its crystalline head. A professor, so you are a strategist who studies biological warfare? No, I studied how birds evolved hollow bones to fly, how fish developed gills to breathe underwater. It's peaceful research. The aliens exchanged glances, their nonverbal communication unnervingly efficient. Commander Flowing Steel said. So, your species engineers adaptations for aerial and aquatic combat. Impressive. Warshido's form pulsed. Its command of evolutionary weaponization is vast. Sarah's voice broke in. Captain, show them something peaceful, personal, human. Williams nodded, floating toward the crew quarters. Would you like to see human culture? He grabbed his tablet, pulling up family photos. This is my wife and kids. We were playing in our backyard. The crystalline ambassador studied the image. These are your young. Are they in combat training? No. They're just playing. That's our dog. Commander Flowing Steel peered closer. So, your offspring train in tactical exercises with a domesticated predator in a controlled outdoor training zone. Williams rubbed his eyes. They're playing fetch. That's a garden. We grow vegetables there. Warshido's voice rumbled like a distant storm. The human cultivates food and trains juvenile units in survival and predator interaction. Their home is a operations base. Sarah sounded exasperated. Captain, try music or art. Something purely emotional. He tapped a playlist. A soft classical violin solo began to play, echoing gently through the station. This is music, he said. A piece by Mozart, composed for emotional expression. Nothing tactical, just beauty. The aliens listened, silent at first, but then Ambassador Crystalline Heart's lights flickered rapidly. These frequencies are mathematically precise. This is clearly a psychological manipulation tool. No, it's just music. Commander Flowing Steel's body shimmered uneasily, designed to induce emotional shifts. Their sonic warfare is advanced. Williams shut it off, panicked. All right, let's try food. He opened a storage drawer and pulled out freeze-dried ice cream and a pouch of coffee. This is a dessert cream. We give it to kids during celebrations. Coffee helps adults stay awake. The aliens leaned in, scanning the items with increasing dread. Warshido spoke. These are combat rations and alertness stimulants. Highly refined, clearly optimized for prolonged engagements. Williams held up his hands. No, it's just desert and caffeine. Ambassador Crystalline Heart's internal glow pulsed. The human admits to deploying chemical enhancers to its juvenile units during ritual events. Their combat readiness begins at youth. Sarah's voice came through, urgent. Captain, scans show the alien fleet is mobilizing. Their numbers are increasing. Whatever we're saying, it's not reassuring them. They're taking it as a threat display. Williams looked out the viewport. The sky was no longer filled with 3 ships. Dozens had arrived. More were appearing by the hour. Ambassador, please, he said desperately. You're misreading everything. None of this is meant as a threat. The Crystal Ambassador's voice was calm but firm. Your species' casual integration of adaptation, strategy, and emotional control into everyday life only confirms your danger level, Commander, Flowing Steel added. Your presence in this orbital environment without visible defenses shows your enhanced physiology. You operate in hostile conditions as if they are benign. Williams glanced down at his standard issue spacesuit. To him, it was basic protection. To them, it must have looked like elite military armor. This is just a suit to keep me alive, he said. Any human would die out here without it. Warshido pulsed again, possibly amused. The human implies this is minimal protection. Their base-level survival gear is sufficient for the vacuum of space. Truly a species bred for conquest. Hour by hour, every effort to explain human life made things worse. The aliens interpreted images of cities as command centers. They took images of weather systems as environmental defense grids. They mistook documentaries for combat logs. Even human history sounded like a chronicle of planetary domination. Then, from the most unexpected corner of Earth, a voice broke through the chaos. Dr. Lisa Park, a climatologist stationed in Antarctica, had been monitoring alien signal analysis. Dr. Chen, she said urgently. They're not reacting to our weapons, they're reacting to us. They can't understand how anything could survive on Earth unless it was a predator. They think we conquered our own planet. Sarah froze. You're right. That's it, Captain. Williams stopped trying to prove we're peaceful. Show them we're normal. Let them see that to us, Earth isn't hostile. It's just ... home. Williams took a deep breath. Ambassador Crystalline Heart, he said, I'd like to show you what Earth is to us. He opened a live feed from Times Square. The screen lit up with people walking to work. Yellow cabs zipping through streets, children playing in parks, food vendors selling pretzels. These are ordinary people, not warriors. Students, parents, workers, no armor, no weapons. Just ... life. The aliens watched in silence. Thousands of humans going about their day in an environment the galactic community considered lethal. Commander Flowing Steel spoke first. They navigate this environment freely, without gear, without hesitation. Crystalline Heart's lights flickered. The young engage and play in the same terrain where their elders conduct operations. There is no separation between civilians and danger, Warshido added. They do not recognize their world as hostile. They do not survive it. They inhabit it. Williams leaned forward. Exactly. Earth shaped us. Yes, but we didn't conquer it. We adapted. We don't see storms or gravity as obstacles. They're part of life. For the next hour, the aliens watched live feeds from around the planet. Surfers rode waves across warm coastlines. Families picnicked under lightning-prone skies. Skiers raced through snowstorms. Children ran barefoot on sun-baked fields. Slowly, the delegates' expressions shifted from wary skepticism to thoughtful silence. Finally, Ambassador Crystalline Heart spoke. We request permission to update our classification. Humanity is not a direct military threat. You are something far more rare. Survivors, masters of adaptation. You have transformed a lethal crucible into a home. Commander Flowing Steel nodded. We extend our apologies. We have never encountered a species with your resilience. Your daily existence requires strength. Our warriors reserved for battle. Warships form shimmered. Earth will remain designated a Class 115 Deathworld and mobile fortress. But that designation now honors not fears its inhabitants. You are not conquerors. You are what your world made you. From Earth, Sarah exhaled, smiling. Welcome to the galactic community, humanity. I have a feeling your reputation is going to open doors, especially for jobs no one else wants. Back aboard the ISS, Captain Williams chuckled, eyes drifting from Earth's swirling clouds to the strange new allies beside him. Would you like to visit the surface? He asked. There are millions of people who'd love to meet you. Just bring a good environmental suit. Even we admit it gets uptight.